This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Today, I met the love of my life. Her name is Juniper Sumo.
She seemed kind of off to me.
Why would you think that? Tell me.
It's her eyes. They're just so dark. I feel like she was going to eat me or something.
I get that a lot.
Hell really broke the mold. They released her.
And she is everything.
Something's amiss at Juniper's house. Available everywhere this Valentine's Day.
Welcome to Unlike-Minded, a sci-fi audio anthology.
Imposter Syndrome by Chatree. I received my orders today. It's just as I hoped. I'm going out solo. My first mission in the field. Guess hard work does pay off sometimes. I leave for the city in the morning. I'm to arrive at the break of dawn. There's an empty apartment above a coffee shop. It will give me a clear view of the tables below. That's where I'll find my target. She's there every morning around 8:30 a.m. before she goes to work at a jeweler down the street. I have a week to observe her, to study her roots, her habits, how she talks to people, how they talk to her. Then, at the end of the week, I'll do what I've been sent to do, what I've trained my entire life for. I'll step into her skin suit, and her life will become my own. Field report. 0700. Arrived at the pod. Full sweep determined site safe and uncompromised. Established vantage point. View clear and unobstructed. Though it should be noted, if this pod will be used for future recon, there is a tree branch growing at an angle that could eventually prove problematic. Began observation of Penelope Oyewo. Early scouting proved accurate. She arrived at the coffee shop at 0830 sharp. The barista calls her Penny. She ordered a flat white, soy milk substitute, and an almond croissant. She sat alone on the front patio for 23 minutes with a book she didn't read. It's about birds or bird watching, but could possibly just have a bird on the cover, not yet determined. Every few minutes, she picked up her phone to glance at incoming notifications, but she did not open them. She finished her croissant, half her coffee, and then left the shop the opposite direction she arrived. Observed until she rounded the corner at the end of the street, en route to jeweler. Inferred, but not confirmed. Special note to handler. Oyewo displays no paranoid tendencies and regards her surroundings and those who fill it with limited interest. Should this tendency hold, this bodes well for snatching. Step into her skin suit is a little intense. Sorry, I got carried away. That's how everyone at the academy talks about it. You stay immersed in the jargon long enough, you forget how unhinged some of it sounds. I mean, yes, technically, it's an apt description. We make an incision along the spine, we shed our exoskeleton, and we climb on in, latching to the brainstem, rewiring the neural pathways, zipping up the wound behind us once we're settled. It doesn't hurt. I mean, I can't say firsthand, but in our ethics module, the question gets asked enough that there's a whole chapter reassuring cadets that at most the snatchee will feel like they have an itch they can't quite reach, and that's it. I like Penny Oyewo. I can see why she stood out to our scouts. She is a woman of routine, and people of routine make good snatching candidates. So long as the routine holds, no one would suspect anything. I should be exhilarated. My first mission, and she practically snatches herself. But the more I observe her, the more something nags at me. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back a bit. The first couple days of observation go by swimmingly. Penny's morning routine is so consistent, I start to wonder if I have been given the wrong dossier and another snatcher had already taken care of Penny. She's punctual to the minute. She orders the same breakfast. She leaves the same amount of coffee left unconsumed. The only discernible difference to her pre-work choreography is sometimes she actually reads some of her bird book instead of scrolling on her phone. But that's it. Then she heads to work. She smiles at the barista, but only when saying hello and goodbye. It's friendly, but not familiar. Each of them keeping the other compartmentalized into the specific box of a relationship, not daring to disrupt the good thing they have going. I lose sight of Penny on most of her walking commute as I skitter along the rooftops to the ancillary pod, which gives me a decent view through the glass panes of her workplace. Forget-me-not jewelry, the logo wrapped in a wreath of its namesake flowers. A quaint mom-and-pop joint wedged between a stationery store and a consignment shop. Despite its prime real estate in an area with ample foot traffic, hardly anyone patronizes the store. For most of her shift, Penny is the only one minding the place. If an hour goes by without any action, she gets her book out. Ironically enough, she gets most of her leisure reading done at work. Penny sighs a lot. I don't think she knows that she does it. She's stifled by her own routines, and the only way to release that pressure valve is to let a good sigh rip every hour or two. I mean, that's my guess anyway. I can't know for sure. But I start sighing when she sighed, just to try it on for size, since I could be her for a while. And if other people noticed she did that a lot and all of a sudden she stopped, I could blow my cover. That attention to detail, that's the thing I was trained to do. And like I said, I should be over the moon. But instead, I find with each sigh I mimic, the more I take on whatever it is she's carrying with her. I think I'm feeling bad for her. I have to shake it off. Something else is going on. I shouldn't feel bad for her. If you start to feel bad for your snatchee, that's actually one of the signs I could be dealing with someone who knows about us and has taken defensive measures. These kinds of people are rare, to the point of being considered mythical. A scare tactic in training to keep us on our toes. But I can't be too careful. If I miss this, I'll get demoted to the mailroom, and I can't go back there. So that's why I've decided to bend protocol. I should be getting ready to snatch. I've gathered more than enough intelligence, but I must know more. I have to figure out what feels so off about this. Field report. Conditions for snatching, moderate. Requesting additional surveillance time to increase snatching success percentage above ideal threshold of 70%. Standing by for response from Hive. Outside of work, Penny spends most of her time alone. A typical evening goes like this. Upon arrival, keys and messenger bag flung in the general direction of the coat rack, shoes discarded near the door with the jumble of sneakers and sandals. Then she sighs. In transit to the kitchen, she scoops up the TV remote, flicks it on, and leaves whatever channel happens to be there. She roots around in the pantry for a snack, Cheetos or pretzels, whichever she lands on first, and then it's off to the stove. She cooks herself dinner, pasta with liberal Alfredo sauce, Texas toast to mop it up. She eats on the sofa on a TV tray with an uneven leg. She alternates bites with scrolling on her phone, guessing an answer on Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, and then back to bites. Rinse, recycle, repeat, until her dinner is gone. Another sigh here, usually. There's a brief window of a moment when Penny lights up, and that's for half an hour after dinner when some sort of obstacle course show airs. She laughs when people fall down, and I want to laugh too, but I hold it in. I am a professional, after all. In this moment, she forgets about the troubles of her days, the things that burden her, the things that make her sigh. And I don't have definitive proof. This is speculation, but I think she wishes she could nest in that moment for a while. Not forever, but just a bit longer. And that if she could, maybe she would sigh less. Or if nothing else, maybe the things that make her sigh would be rendered less sigh-worthy. But sadly, she cannot nest in that moment. Like clockwork, the light dims in her eyes during the commercial break. And it's always the fault of some otherwise mundane commercial. Fido's Bacon Flakes. There's nothing inherently sad about the commercial. It's quite joyful and loud. But every time Fido runs across the screen in search of a bacon or a flake, Penny's eyes drift toward the empty space on the couch beside her, and a quiet sadness returns. That's her cue for bed. The bedroom runs hot, so she cranks on the oscillating fan as high as it will go, stands in front of it for a while, closes her eyes, imagines she's somewhere else, somewhere cooler. On a cliffside, her body a sail for a powerful, soothing wind. Then a car honks outside and the spell's broken. She opens her eyes, but a part of her remains closed. The night is fitful and restless. I stay longer than I planned to, watching from inside the ventilation shaft. Each time the oscillating fan turns in my direction, I close my eyes and I imagine I'm someone else. Field report. Snatching to proceed tonight. Will reestablish contact upon completed operation. It's going to be okay, Penny. You don't know it yet, but you're part of something larger than yourself. Larger than this world. Don't worry. You'll see soon. It's going to be wonderful. You'll be wonderful. It's going to be okay. I hope it's going to be okay. A penny for your thoughts. My therapist thought it would be a good idea to do the scary thing and finally start the blog I've wanted to since I was young. So, here it is. A blog, first post, talking to the void. Hi, void. How do you find the weather? I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how I find it these days. Every day feels like the last. If not for my calendar, I wouldn't be able to tell you Monday from Thursday. I wake up, I get a coffee, I eat a croissant, I go to work, I go home, I eat a bland dinner, I watch TV, I doom scroll until I can't take it anymore, I go to sleep, I do it all again the next day. I am haunted by sameness. It follows me wherever I go. I can't seem to shake it. So I got a book about something I've always been curious about. It's about birds. I've always liked them, even considered pursuing a degree at one point, but that fell apart before it had a chance to fully form. I don't entirely blame my parents for pressuring me to study something more useful, but now a decade away from that decision, with that sure thing job, anything but, I find myself wondering if I'd be happier surviving with a useless degree that I cared about. At least then, I know more about ornithology than accounting, if you consider a low C really knowing something. So I'm making up for lost time with my bird book. It's been terribly slow going. I don't get a lot of time to read, mostly at breakfast before I head into work. I could probably find time elsewhere. I know this intellectually, but when it comes to actually carving it out, I don't know. I get stuck. The chapter I'm on is about parasitic birds, cuckoos and cowbirds. They lay their eggs in unsuspecting birds' nests, leaving their young behind to be raised along with the rest, an imposter. It's not long until everyone can see one of these things is not like the other, but the host bird raises it anyway. If all goes well for the parasite, it grows up, finds another like-minded bird, and they repeat the cycle. I had a question the book couldn't answer. It only discusses the brood parasites that succeed. But what about the brood that fails? The brood that realizes it's an imposter, but decides she'd rather be a cardinal or a blue jay or a songbird. What happens to them? Are they happier in the end? Field report. Snatching complete. Acclimation period engaged. Stand by for code, cleanup crew, or all clear. Discontinuing contact as prearranged to reduce stimuli and optimize transition success rate. A penny for your thoughts. I didn't want to write today, but I didn't want to break my streak so early on either. Can you call 2 days in a row a streak? Let's say we can. It's got to be food poisoning, or maybe there's a bug going around. Whatever it is, I hate it. I've barely moved today. Even typing this now is giving me wild vertigo. I look in the mirror and see I've turned several shades of pale green. But that's probably TMI. This isn't a pathology blog. I'll get back on topic. What I planned writing about today before this mystery illness ambushed me. I'm auditioning for a game show. It's a silly obstacle course show called Splat. What makes it novel is the winners aren't the contestants who finish the fastest, but the ones who have the most glamorous wipeouts. How many splats was that? The over-caffeinated announcer shouts after each run. The celebrity judges feign serious contemplation, like what they've observed is an Olympic sport. The cash prize is negligible, and the winners chosen seemingly at random. But even the losers look happy. They laugh with each other after the show. They all stay in touch. They group text. They watch the premiere together. They become a part of each other's lives for good. At least I think that's how it goes. I have my first run-through for some producer types in a few days. I'll do it nauseously if I have to, but I hope whatever it is that ails me is done with me by then. I've done it. It took a day longer than expected, but I've done it. I've snatched Penny, but I feel nauseous. My movements are unnatural and labored. I'm not used to having all these fingers, for one. Why do humans need so many? There's an itch I can't reach in the middle of my back. Penny's range of motion is more limited than I anticipated, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. She called in sick just before the snatching fully took, so she bought me some time to acclimate before I go out into the world. A new Penny. Ugh, the nausea. It's not from the snatching, though some is expected. No, it comes from somewhere deeper in me. A nausea that attached itself to the decision I made to go through with this. It's laced with regret, then chased by shame for feeling regret in the first place. This was not expected and not something we trained for. It's not in any of the manuals or field guides. I double-checked. And it's not something you hear whispered about in the academy halls. There's not a shade of a shadow of a thought that remotely glances beside this feeling. You shouldn't be wearing Penny's skin suit. It's the nagging thought I can't shake. It's the tremor in my new hand. It's the bead of sweat on my forehead. It drips into my eye, stings a little, but I let it because that's what the voice says I deserve. The voice that tells me I should suffer for stealing what wasn't mine, for taking something precious without the thought of consequences, of what it meant at all. That little voice, it won't stop. And no matter what I do to drown it out, it persists. A hum rubbing against every inch of my cranium. It vibrates behind my eyes, a tiny mist of hornets buzzing, poking at the membrane perimeter, searching for a way out. You don't want this. You don't want to do this to me. You can still make this right. I thought I was hearing things at first, imagining this, but now I know. Penny is still here, and she won't rest until she gets her life back from me. I'm here, and yet I'm not. I'm floating on an ocean, a distant sea of my mind. My body moves through the world without me. It goes through the motions as I did, only now it's like I'm looking through the bottom of a hazy glass. My view oscillates, distant and close, foggy and clear. Someone else is here. The someone who displaced me. I know they can hear me. When they look in the mirror, they look not at themselves, but at me across the sea, across the vast distance they tried to banish me to. I don't know why, but they're holding on to me, keeping me here, refusing to cast me out entirely. I should hate them, whoever they are, and I tried to. They're walking around in my life, and I'm here, a fading wisp of a memory. And yet I feel their sadness, their uncertainty. They have done the thing they've trained their whole life to do. They walk the path that was paved for them. But now that they're here, they're considering the consequences. They're considering me. You don't want this, I say to them. You can still make this right. You don't have to be the drone they molded you into. You can be your own self. It's okay if they don't understand. One day, you'll find others who do. They can be your new hive. You can be a songbird, sweet cuckoo. Let me help you sing. We can both sing. Field report. Don't come looking for me. You won't find me. I know how you operate. I'll always be one step ahead. And don't even think about coming for Penny again. You won't be able to get in her zip code without us knowing. My eyes are open now. You told us snatching is a necessity, that it's my purpose, that it's irreversible, that it's the only path to a better world. I've always had my doubts, but you trained those out of me. Penny helped me find them again, helped me find myself. We'll find a way to reverse this. And when we do, we'll find others. We know they're out there. You wanted us to feel alone, to exploit that isolation, to shape it into something the hive could use for its own benefit. No more. We're stepping outside of your influence, and our lives will be our own. And there's nothing you can do to snatch that away.
This has been Unlike Minded, a sci-fi audio anthology. Collection 4, Among Us. Stories about aliens, skinwalkers, and other invaders. Imposter Syndrome was written by Nick Chatree and narrated by Rebecca Usoro. Unlike Minded is an August year-round production, created, produced, and edited by Robbie Hyne. Our intro and outro music is by Noah James, and our key art is by Brendan Haley. We'd like to give a special thank you to everyone who has supported this independent podcast production. You can keep up to date and find more info about this podcast and others on Instagram at the handle August Year Round Prod, by visiting our website, augustyearround.com, or by emailing us at augustyearround@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and tune in next week for another episode of Unlike Minded, a sci-fi audio anthology.
The Fable and Folly Network, where fiction producers flourish.